you don't know what the process that we've been doing, but we have a new Zoom platform. So today I have to talk a little bit slow because there's a simultaneous translation in French and in Spanish. Now, if you're with us on the Zoom, you can go to, there's a different, whatever, I don't know if it's a room or something, but on the Zoom, you can get you could go to just the Spanish or to the French, or you could stay listening to the English. So this is the first time we're doing it. There's a few, of course, there's going to be some kinks, so bear with us if there's problems, as there already has been problems anyway. So, okay, so we're just going to get started now. So what I'm going to see is, Katsitenseriio yujats, kahawinoji and dudgets going to star, Ronata Roni. Latinura do Gorunga Gorio Gesso. Yet the sort as a tanka Garoko dana yet in the stans your Hunzagi than a Goiduscut the Ganungwe. Latinura do a Guadzini Ganyat de Gero dana a Guegu or Quadzide or Nuquasuka. Latinura do yet the sort of Gunham there on the headstone, a Ganigurio that the Hawakwe. A Yonkiat again has Damdawe Adon Hetzida, because it's Tassida and Ganungwe. Damdawe Adon Hetzida. Ne asap ni got dardige ne Kanienkehaka radinyato Ronata Runi dana riskrewage damdawe aron hetsida ne degene de ohade damdawe aron hetsida ne agwego on a gordon agayan rasada go in skana. Okay, what is said, what is done, the opening that I just spoke in my language in Kanienkehaka, this is called a Honda Gadi Wadekwa. This is the words that come before all else. Whenever we gather in ceremony or meeting or of anything of importance, we always have to carry out a Honda Gadi Wadekwa first. And this is to remind ourselves of the things on which we are deliberating upon. And so a Honda Gadi Wadekwa consists of first giving thanks to our origins, identifying the things that give us life, identifying the things that sustain us. And so we begin at the beginnings of creation. We know that in order for us to exist here in this world, that the entire waterverse has to exist first. The waterverse, what you know as the universe. So in order for us to exist, the universe has to exist in order to create us. And so we acknowledge this, that when we look up into the nighttime sky, we are not looking up into empty space. We're not looking up at stars and planets and whatever else. We are looking into the great spiral of creation. We are looking into the body of Sky Woman herself. And so we give thanks to Sky Woman, as it is she who has given us spirit. From there, we give our thanks to the beating heart of our Mother Earth, to our grandmother Moon. We give thanks to her, as it is she who regulates the flow of the lifeblood in all things. As we know that she regulates the flow of the tides in the ocean. If she can pull such great bodies of water, then she can pull the bodies of water in not just the rivers and lakes, but within ourselves also. The water that is within our bodies, the water that's within our eyeballs, that's within our brains. These things, we are affected every day, constantly, by the gravitational force, by the pull, the energy, the power of our grandmother Moon. And so we give thanks to her, as it is she who has given us blood. From there, we give our thanks to our Mother Earth, regardless of where you come from, what language you speak, regardless of what you imagine divides us. We all come from the same mother. Even no matter what our beliefs may be today, it does not matter. We all come from the same mother, and so we give thanks to her, as it is she who has given us body. From there, we give our thanks to all the women, from the newest born baby girl to the eldest grandmother, as they carry the sacred title of life giver into this world. We are to be honored and respected for the sacred title that they carry into this world of bringing us into this world, giving us life. And so we give thanks to them. for in this world they give us purpose and direction. We give our thanks to all the medicines. And when we say medicines, it is not just the things that you may apply to yourself, or maybe you might eat or drink or something. Medicines are much more than what we find in a pharmacy. Medicines are things such as the maple waters. Medicines is your grandmother. When you see your grandmother, she is the medicine for you. You are the medicine for her. You are what gives her happiness. You are what gives her life, even though she has been in this world longer than you and actually has given life to you. We find that when we reach a certain age, that it is our next generation that basically gives us life. They power us. They give us the reason to continue to remain. And so we must acknowledge all the medicines in all the shapes and forms they come in. We identify all the, no, wait a minute, that was all the waters I was talking about. We said all the medicines also. Yeah, I did incorporate that. From there, we give our thanks to all our ancestors who carried the good mind, and we ask them to help us to return our mothers back to their natural seat of authority within all our nations, so they can manage our people properly once again. From there, we give our thanks to all, what's happening here?
It's the big box.
What's happening to it? Take a look at the power source. Something's happening to our box here. Oh my goodness, it needs power. Okay, plug it in. The plug's right over there. Okay, we're having another technical difficulty here. We're not going to be able to hear very fast, very soon. That's not plugged in. Haha, take care of it. So Lynn, leave it. Let him do it.
There's nothing to reach.
Well, you're going to have to plug in that extension. Do it fast. Take it too long. So Lynn, get out of the way. Let him do it.
I don't know where this plug is not together.
Oh my goodness. Always stupidity. Are we back? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, we have absolutely no sound here now. We cannot hear.
You don't hear me now? Hello, hello.
Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello, hello.
I have no clue. I can't see yous now. I don't know if it's good to go. Yeah, maybe just go ask one of them out there quick. Ask them if everything is good for us to go. If I don't know if you can hear us. We're not.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yep.
Just
I can hear you.
I can hear.
Okay, if something happens again, maybe Edith or Mary Claude, just beep your horn because I can't tell. I can't hear none of yous and I can't see none of yous now. Okay, so we're just
Okay.
going to continue. We were in the Honda Gadi Wadekwa and we were just identifying about, let's see, about our ancestors who carried the good mind and that we asked them to help us to return our mothers back to their natural seat of authority within all our nations so they can manage our people properly once again. From there, we ask our ancestors to help us to return the true spirit of Degani Diohade, to return this back into the hearts and minds of the people to understand once again how two polar opposites come together in to resolve issues, where they come together in an interface to resolve issues or to resolve disputes. So we ask for the two-row wampum to be returned back into the hearts and minds of the people. From there, we ask for the Guyana Rasidat Goa to be returned, every wampum to have this returned back to the hearts and minds of the people also. Okay, with this Honda Gadi Wadekwa, as you know, this is a very short one. It could be very long, but for purposes here today, we need to be as short as possible. Okay, so we're just going to go right into what is identified as the moon teachings. There is, we have here set up a few images. Here, this is going to represent our eldest brother, the sun. And here, of course, this is our grandmother moon and our mother earth. Now, we know that our grandmother moon spins around our mother earth, but she does not rotate. There is always just one face that we are seeing. So I know a lot of people really can't grasp that sometimes. So if you figure, if this shell is our mother earth and I'm our grandmother moon goes around the earth like this, always just one face directly linked to our mother earth, even though our mother earth is spinning. Our mother earth rotates, as you know, on her axis. It takes 24 hours for her to rotate. So even though our mother earth is rotating, our grandmother moon still stays linked, solid link to our mother earth, always just one face looking at her. So it's very important to keep in mind all the time that there is always just one face looking at our mother earth. As we go on, we're going to explain why. Okay, so we're going to start from here. Here in a new moon phase, when the moon is between our mother earth and our eldest brother, the sun, this is what we call new moon. This is when you cannot see the moon because it's directly in between the earth and our eldest brother, the sun. There is 3 days of power. That is the day before, the day of, and the day after in the new moon. This is because you cannot see the moon for 3 days. So this is 3 days of power. As we go on, you're going to learn and hear as what that power is. So when she begins here, important to know that the face that is locked into our, looking at our Mother Earth, of course, that's away from the sun. But the side that is facing the sun, now this is where our grandmother moon, exposed to the direct heat and the direct sunlight of our eldest brother, the sun, she is heating up. So her face is looking at our Mother Earth. Her back is getting super hot because she's not there just for 1 day. Again, our minds are locked into thinking about our Mother Earth rotating in a 24-hour period. So as our Mother Earth rotates, well, part of the Earth is only looking at the sun for a very short time. As you know, we only get daylight for roughly, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours, basically. So for 10 to 12 hours on our Mother Earth, the one side is getting the sun, getting hot. The other side is in night, not hot. And so she rotates, and this is what keeps the temperature at a steady rate on our Mother Earth. But on our grandmother moon, she is not rotating around like this. She is locked into a direct link to our Mother Earth again, which means that her back is facing the sun from the time that she is in third quarter to first quarter. So that's a long time to be exposed to the sun of direct sunlight and direct heat. So what's happening to her is basically this is where the laws of physics come into play. And you know the laws of physics as the laws of physics. The original people of Turtle Island know the laws of physics as something else. This is identified as Kanienkehaka, the great law of peace. The great law of peace is basically the laws of physics. But in the non-native world, you have only half of the story. You have the laws of physics of basically how two things interact with each other when you're observing them. But the great law of peace, which is the laws of physics, goes much further than just observing. It actually tells you how you are supposed to interact with this thing, with that thing. So the laws of physics is as true as they are. It is only half of the story. So keep in mind the laws of physics here. So the laws of physics is what if you're standing next to a heat source, well, you're going to get hot. This is a fire. I'll be burning up right now. If I turned around, well, then the back of my head will be heating up and my face will cool down. So as long as I'm rotating like our Mother Earth, well, that's what keeps a constant, comfortable temperature all around the planet. But again, when we're dealing with our grandmother moon, where there is no rotation, then the laws of physics is that her back will be getting super hot. So this is what happens in the new moon phase. When our grandmother moon is in new phase closest to the sun, the face that is facing the sun is getting super hot. And according to the laws of physics, as you know, when you apply heat to anything, when you apply heat to an inanimate object, like a metal, you know that the metal expands. You apply heat to anything, it expands. This is what happens to us. Summertime, or if we're standing next to a heat source, what happens to us? The heat causes our body to expand. This opens our pores. And when our pores open, well, water comes out of our body. This is what we call sweat. This same thing of our pores opening up and sweat leaving our body, condensation leaving our body, this same thing happens to our Mother Earth. This same thing happens to our grandmother Moon. The laws of physics does not apply only to things that we want it to apply to. The laws of physics, the great law of peace, applies to everything equally throughout the universe. Ask any physicist if the laws of physics are universal. And of course, any physicist will tell you, yes, of course, the laws of physics are universal. So let's think of what universal means. We have a perception of the very small. We can perceive molecules. We have knowledge of this. We can perceive when those molecules get together and create a mass such as ourselves. It gets to critical mass and it creates a new level of life. A new level of consciousness is formed out of those collective of cells. So we can very easily understand the realm of the very small, which in the non-native world you call molecules, molecules being made up of atoms, atoms being made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. This is the way that you know things. The way that we know things is that on that scale, it's not protons, neutrons, and electrons. It is turtle, wolf, and bear, because protons, neutrons, and electrons have traits of things that they must do. So just like you, if there's something you must do, you do everything, you do something every day, this becomes your trait. It becomes a way of people knowing you. And so on the scale of the very small, protons, neutrons, and electrons, when we know them as turtle, wolf, and bear, then we can relate to them much more easiest to understand our connection to them as humans, because we're made up of these things. So anyways, the realm of the very small, the realm of where we are on, and the realm of the very large. When we look up again into the nighttime sky, we are not looking up into empty space. We are looking into the solid body of Sky Woman. The same way that in your body, you know that the molecules in your body, the atoms, are so far apart. They're as far apart as the sun and moon and stars in your body. But then we know that on our level, that regardless of how far those molecules are apart in my fingernail, on our level, it is a solid. So when we continue to recognize the law, the universal law of creation, then we know that, well, the laws of physics don't only apply to the realm of the very small. It doesn't only apply to us. It also applies to the realm of the very big. So let's look at an atom just in our body. Let's take a proton, and we'll take that proton. Look, there's one right here. We'll bring it over here. We'll put it next to the sun. Well, you know what happens? That proton heats up, and that proton, when it heats up, it expands. That is a fact. It's a universal fact. So on the realm of the very small, when something heats up, it expands. On our level, something heats up, it expands. Okay, so let's just extrapolate that to the larger level of the planets, of our Mother Earth, of our grandmother Moon. That our grandmother Moon, when she is here in new moon phase, her back facing the sun, is getting super hot. And when she gets super hot, she, just like us, just like the atoms in our bodies, expand. And when we expand, like we said, summertime, our pores open, condensation comes out. This very same thing happens to our grandmother Moon. Our grandmother Moon, here in new moon phase, closer to the sun, she is expanding. And when she expands, her pores open. When her pores open, the condensation comes out of her body. Because our grandmother Moon, just like our Mother Earth, just like us, is made up of 100% water. Our grandmother Moon is not, according to non-native science, she is not a cold, dead, lifeless rock. These are stupid people whose minds are locked into stupidity because of their laws of physics that only goes halfway. It is only a person observing someone else, not understanding what powers that person to do the things that they do. So the laws of physics, the way that the non-natives understand it, it's only half of the story. So our grandmother moon, new moon, she's hot, she's expanding, the condensation is coming out of her body. Now, when the condensation comes out of her body, there is a constant reality coming out of our eldest brother, the sun. And modern science calls it solar winds. So if we consider that there's wind coming from the sun. And right here, you can see the way that it moves around this, the earth and the moon that I have here. So in space, we know that these bodies are all locked within elliptical orbits around our eldest brother, the sun. So they're locked in space, in a place, almost like if you could imagine, like if any of you remember records. Like in the record, you have the hole in the center, and then you'll have all the grooves in it. So each groove, no matter what, is at a certain place away from that center. So our Mother Earth is always at a center, a certain place, grandmother moon, all the other planets. So this interaction with the wind traveling through all these, through our solar system, when our grandmother moon is in new moon, and she's expanding, and the condensation is coming out of her, that condensation, that water, gets caught in the solar winds. So if you imagine the solar winds coming at you, they're pretty strong. Like if you could imagine yourself riding on a motorcycle in the summertime and you try to spit right in front of you. Well, you know what's going to happen. It's going to go all over your face because it gets caught in the wind. As it gets caught in the wind, it's because whatever gets caught in the wind is going to be going with the wind, carried with the wind. So our grandmother moon is emitting, releasing condensation that then gets caught in the solar winds. Now, knowing that our grandmother moon in new moon phase is closer to the sun, and the winds pick up the water that leaves her, that means that wind continues past the moon right to our Mother Earth. That means the condensation that leaves our grandmother moon when she's in new moon phase, this comes right back to the earth. This is a recycling. Okay, now, when our grandmother moon travels around into full moon phase, full moon, this is where the side of her that was facing the sun, as she travels around, this is basically the increments of how she moves. So as you can see, that the part of her facing the sun, it's constantly shifting on her. So it goes direct from the back, and when she's moving this way, well, the heat is now moving to her left side. And then when she's coming over here past the first quarter, well, the heat now starts to hit her on her face. That means the part that was her back that was facing the sun is now away from the sun. It's facing away. And so it's a long time. It's a 14-day period that she's facing away from first quarter to third quarter. Her back is facing away from the sun. And it's very cold out there in space. Very cold. But as astronauts will tell you, that any part of them that is exposed to the sun instantaneously gets super, super hot. So here we go. The moon is over here in full moon phase, her back is getting super cold. What happens to you when you get cold? Let's go back and apply the laws of physics once again. Okay, the laws of physics is that, well, when you get cold, you get, you shiver, you shrink up. And so that means that an inanimate object, if you put just cold on it, even you do this to metal, it actually shrinks. Okay, haha, can you get me some sage over there? It's right there on the table next to that wall. Okay, just bring it over here. Just bring it. Okay, so when her back is getting real cold, she freezes up. Right now, even with no flame on this sage, I put it close to my body, I could feel the heat right here. Yeah, this far away, I could feel the heat on my cheek. I could still feel it here. Just to identify, just to show that right here there's atmosphere. So heat and cold is harder to travel, but in space there's no atmosphere. Heat and cold is much easier. Anything that is more of a conduit to heat and cold, more so in space than it is here where there is an atmosphere. So when she's here, her back is freezing. Her face is getting heated up. Her face facing the earth is heated up. And again, when you heat up, when you get hot, your pores open. Now, this same thing happens to our Mother Earth. So constantly, there is some place on our Mother Earth because of the shift. You know, it's either summer in one hemisphere and winter in the other, or vice versa. So there is always a point on the Earth that is super hot. And when she's super hot, you can see it. Some of you right now, this time of year, if you're in regions where there's snow, you see in the evening time or in the morning, whenever, when you see, when it's warm, the snow is melting, you see mist in the air. That's because the snow that's melting, it evaporates. And as it evaporates, it goes into the air, goes into the atmosphere. This happens to our Mother Earth. So let's just imagine it's summertime here. It's coming up to summer now, so we know that it's going to get super hot in our part of the world here. And when it does, we know that it gets very humid. And humidity, of course, it rises. And so that's the condensation rising off of our mother. And when that condensation rises off of our mother, the same as us, when our pores open up, the water leaves our body. Now, if you think of our skin as our atmosphere holds in everything into our body. But our atmosphere actually opens up and releases things. Releases the sweat. Very soon, summertime, you're going to be outside, and you're going to have sweat here on your upper lip. You're going to have sweat on all over different parts of your body. You're going to be working. You're going to be sweating even more. So we know that our atmosphere, as what's the term here? As secure or as strong as it is, that we know that our atmosphere holds everything in. The skin holds everything in. Skin holds our flesh. Skin holds our bones. Because skin holds everything inside. But that skin opens up to release condensation. And so this happens to our Mother Earth also. She opens up to release condensation. And as she does that, again, the solar winds pick up her condensation and carry that over to where our grandmother moon is in new moon phase. So when she's in new moon phase over here, again, her back is super cold, her face is very warm, very hot, her pores open. And when her pores open and the water leaves our Mother Earth, gets caught in the solar winds and approaches her, that means she catches it. It goes right back into her beautiful face. And then, as she continues on her journey, going around our Mother Earth, she, again, her back starts to heat up as she comes over here. And again, her pores on her back open up, and she releases that water again. Now, this is the recycling process of what, the same thing as what you know happens in your body from your heart. You know that your heart pumps out. And when it pumps out, it makes a sound. So when it's in new moon phase, that's when she's pumping out the reoxygenated blood, the blood that she purified. And when she goes around this way and pulls that water back into the heart, just like your heart, when your heart pulls the blood back in, it makes a sound. So when it opens, when it closes, there's more to it than this. The laws of physics, don't forget. Any 5-year-old could figure this out. But it's the false education of the non-native world that has the entire world unable to deduce what common sense is. Now, there's something else here that takes place. As our grandmother moon is spinning, going around our Mother Earth from hot to cold, expansion to contraction, when she's in hot and she releases that water and it gets caught in the solar winds, she gets back over here, she picks it up again. There's something else that's going on. Our grandmother moon, from the far face on new moon to the far face on full moon, that's approximately 800,000 kilometers. So now, I'm not saying that's the precise distance. I don't really know the precise distance, so maybe anybody can find out what the precise distance is. Really doesn't matter to me. All we need to know is that, acknowledge, is that it is a great distance in outer space where there is no atmosphere. And when you're closer to a heat source and further away from it, makes a very big difference as to the constitution, as to what's happening to your constitution, to your body. So, as she's spinning around here, hot, cold. When she's cold, think of it like this. I'll show you something. Think of her like a sponge. So when she's here in new moon, the side facing the sun, it's very soft and spongy. It opens up, the pores open up. But the side that's facing away is cold. And so it's cold, it's hard. It's not soft and spongy. Now, when she's over here in full moon, the part that is furthest, her back, is not just soft compared to the sponge. No, the side that is furthest is frozen. So if you poured water into the sponge, well, it would go right through. But if it was frozen on the bottom, that water would not go through. The water would stay in the sponge. Okay, so we have two things happening here. The heat and heating up and cooling off. combined with something that we all know from the time that we're little kids. When you were a little kid, somebody grabbed you by the hands and swung you around. And when they swung you around, what happened was your feet, your legs went flying into the air, and we loved it. I know when I was a kid, somebody done that to me, I was like, woohoo! It's like being at the amusement park. It's fun for some reason. We liked it because we're in motion. Anyways, what causes our feet to rise as we spin something around? What could we use here? Let me use this. Okay, it's hanging. Now spinning it around, you can see as it goes faster, it rises. I'm going to hit myself. So centrifugal force causes something, whatever you're spinning, from wherever the center point is, it causes that thing. If it was your hands hanging onto an adult that was spinning you, this is your feet. It causes your feet to come out to the same level as that center point that is spinning you around. So that's called centrifugal force. So combined with the heat and the cooling off, the centrifugal force, this is what's happening. Oh, that's really bright. Oh, can you move that thing? From the full moon. There, that's better. No, just take it right down. Don't close the window. Move it out of the way. Take it out of the way. Yeah, get out of here. Okay, so from full new moon, her face is soft and like a sponge open, but her back is frozen. So she's spinning around. Now, that, like we said, it causes all that condensation to come out because when you're spinning around, of course, again, not only does it cause your feet to raise, but as you know, when we were spun around like that, what happens is all the blood in our body, everything, the mass goes out to the furthest point. So if we stayed spinning around long enough, the blood will rush to our feet. And of course, we would die. So from here, the blood is coming out to be rejuvenated and to go back to our Mother Earth. But over here, in full moon, the water that she's absorbing now from our Mother Earth is going into the sponge, entering this sponge. But it can't come out the backside because the backside is frozen. The backside of our grandmother moon in full moon is frozen. She's cold, she's contracted. All her pores are closed tight. Like all the doors and windows on your house are closed tight. So when she's going around back in the rotation, coming back up the third quarter, what's happening is because of that centrifugal force, the water is traveling through the sponge. This is just like in your heart. The blood travels from the whatever side that pumps the blood in. It travels through there and it gets rejuvenated. Doesn't get reoxygenated. That happens in the lungs, but it gets rejuvenated because it gets pumped out again. In your body, you have approximately 60,000 kilometers or miles, I'm not sure of this, of blood vessels throughout your body, which a single blood cell travels through your body in under a minute and a half. Imagine over 60,000, let's just limit it to kilometers, over 60,000 kilometers in under a minute and a half. That is, we worked that out before, I don't remember what the speed is, but it's, I forget, it came close to the speed of light anyways. Okay, so she's spinning around. Oh, one thing that I forgot is that the rotation of our grandmother moon around our mother earth is very fast. On this, don't quote me. I don't know the exact speed that our grandmother moon rotates around our mother earth, but it's very fast. It's somewhere around, I forget what it was, 8,000 miles an hour, 10,000 miles an hour, something like that, or kilometers. Really doesn't matter. The fact is that she's spinning around very fast, which brings anyone to understand what happens with centrifugal force. So as she's spinning that fast, the water is traveling through the sponge, through the body of our grandmother moon. No, this is the frozen part, don't forget. So when she's coming over here to third quarter, well, her side right here, her right shoulder is starting to heat up. She gets closer. Well, her back, a little bit, half of her back is heating up. Now when she's right in new moon, her back is entirely hot, which means then the frozen part is no longer frozen. The frozen part is thawed out and it expands. And these pores open with the centrifugal force. This is what causes the water to leave the body of our grandmother moon when she is here in new moon phase. So you have centrifugal force combined with the temperature, pressures, temperatures, and densities. The density of our grandmother moon is very important because just like here on Earth, everything, the way that life was created based on three things. And these three things, again, are universal: turtle, wolf, and bear. Pressures, densities, and temperature. We think that, well, temperature causes density. Temperature causes pressure. Pressure causes density. Pressure causes temperature. Density causes temperature and pressure. Each of these things, when you look at them separately, they can cause the other two things, but they are very unique in their powers. Protons, neutrons, and electrons, very unique in their powers. Turtle, wolf, and bear, very unique in their powers. And by this interaction from the scale of the very small constitutes us. And from our level, when we look to the scale of the very big, all we do is extrapolate that law of physics, the great law of peace. We extrapolate it from the realm of the very small, look at how it applies to us here, and then we extrapolate it to the realm of the very big. And so then we could understand what is truly happening between our Mother Earth, our grandmother moon, and our eldest brother, the sun. Temperatures, pressures, and densities. This is how our grandmother moon works, how she is the beating heart of our Mother Earth, literally the beating heart of our Mother Earth. Just as with you, your heart keeps your blood circulating in your body, keeps rejuvenating you. If your heart didn't beat, your blood would just beat where it is, and it would be dormant. It wouldn't be rejuvenated. So we know there's a process that takes place inside of us that is a duplicate of what takes place in the so-called universe, because we are made of the universe. So we can see that it becomes easy to understand what has been dehumanized out of us. No longer do the people of the world understand the interaction between us and our grandmother moon. But this is the female line, the female link. Our grandmother moon to our Mother Earth, to all the women from the newest born baby girl to the eldest grandmother. This is the sacred bloodline. We come in created by the life giver. We come into this picture solely to be the life protector, not to destroy and not to turn the tables around as to who is the primary, and who is the secondary. The corruption of male dominance in this world is where man, imagine, puts himself before his mother. This is the non-native world, the corruption of the non-native world. Imagine for me to say that I am equal with my mother. Imagine how audacious I would have to be, how corrupt I would have to be. This is the lie of the non-native world, of your religion. The lie of your religion is that, no, we are not created equal. It is impossible for us to be equal. I could never be equal with my mother. This is an impossibility. And so when we recognize the truth of creation, we know that the female, the life giver, is the primary. Life is born from her. So how could anybody become male dominant and create and believe a lie that man is first? This is the corruptions that led us to the very point of destruction where we are at today. The very point of destruction, we could call it a coronavirus or whatever, anything else, pollution, this or that. It does not really matter. What the current manifestation is, it is a manifestation that is a result of human corruption, of male dominance. Now, male dominance tells you that the process that actually takes place between our eldest brother, the sun, our grandmother moon, and our mother earth, they tell you that it is a lie. They tell you it is corrupted. They tell you our grandmother moon is a cold, dead, lifeless rock. NASA knows this is not true. NASA knows that our grandmother moon expands because it was in the Obama era. I forget what year exactly. I think it was 2012. NASA sent probes up, China did, everybody did. They sent these probes to go and observe the far side of the moon. And they seen marks on the far side of the moon, long, elongated marks. And of course, they won't tell you what this is. They won't tell you that the moon is expanding. If they told you this, that the moon expands, then this will open up your mind to what the true relationship is. And when you know the true relationship of just this simple thing here, that is really simple for us to understand, this is our family. When we understand this, when we look at the truth of that, she expands and contracts, you know what this leads to? Anybody with a half a brain will then you'll automatically remove the lie of the God syndrome. The God syndrome is what got us to coronavirus. The God syndrome is what got us to destroying the environment. People don't understand this today. But when you start to understand the true workings of things, on the universal level, then we will see where we fit into that universal level. There's a lot of things here that, like we said, we may not have the exact statistics, such as, like we said, miles or kilometers, the distance from the far side to the far side. If you have this information, yeah, share it with us. If you know how fast our grandmother moon, here we go, here we have it. Let's see, how far is it? 405,000 one side, 362 the other. Our Mother Earth's approximately 24. So we're looking at approximately 800,000 kilometers, but that looks like near side to near side. That in this rendition that we're looking at here, it shows near side to near side. So when you go far side to far side, here to here, as opposed to the image we're looking at right now, it's from here, the inside to the inside. So we go outside to outside. That's how we deduce that it's approximately 800,000 kilometers. It's important because NASA identifies that even when astronauts are going for a spacewalk on the International Space Station, you all know this, that they have to have visors to block off the sun. And they even identified, I seen this on NASA's website. They said that if you had a gun, imagine of all things, if you had a gun in space and it was exposed to the sun, they say that that gun would get super hot instantaneously that you would not even be able to hold it anyways. So that's where guns belong. They belong out there. They do not belong here. Guns is a corruption of the imbalanced, male-dominant, warmongering mind, which got us to coronavirus, which got us to the point of destruction of the environment because they do not understand the simplest things about physics, what a 5-year-old can deduce. A 5-year-old can easily deduce that, you know what? You stand next to a fire, you can't see it, but there's a wood stove right here. Stand next to the fire, you're getting hot. And a 5-year-old knows that, well, you get hot, your pores open, you sweat. How can it be that with all the physicists in this world that they cannot even deduce that, well, this happens to our grandmother moon. When she's here in new moon, she's expanding. When she's over here further away, she's contracting, she's getting cold. You combine it again with centrifugal force, that the blood, the body, the water is moving through her. So here it is, right here. It's coming out of me. It's coming out of her. She's showering her daughter with rejuvenated blood, with the life force. She showers her daughter. She gives it to us. And through that sacred bloodline of from grandmother to daughter to granddaughter, which is all of you, to all of the women, from the newest born baby girl to the eldest grandmother. You carry that sacred title of life giver into this world. Through that sacred bloodline, this is how our grandmother moon gives me my power. Because where I get my power from is not myself. I did not create this power. I get it from my mother. I get this body from my mother. I get this blood from my mother. This heart is from my mother. When we go back to the very beginnings of each of us, when we are in fetus phase, forming in the womb of our mother, you know that the first thing to grow is the heart. When the first cell, when that embryo divides into itself to create two, you know that those two cells, in order for them to exist, they have to have blood inside of them. So that means that the first thing beating, the first thing growing in an embryo is the heart. But where is that heart in the one cell in that embryo? The heart is not in that cell. The heart that is beating in that embryo that is in the womb of the mother, it is not the heart of that embryo. It is the heart of the mother. So this is where I get my heart from, my mother. It does not belong to me. It is not my heart. It is in my body. But my body was given to me by my mother. Again, my heart, my blood. It's all given from that sacred bloodline of the life giver. And so, as a life protector, when I understand these things, how turtle, wolf, and bear works, and how I understand how it is a continuum from the realm of the very small to our level, to the realm of the very big, then I can find my place in this world. Then I will not destroy. I will not pollute. I will not put myself in front of my mother. This is the insanity of the non-native world, the insanity which is losing, giving away your knowledge of creation. That is the true insanity. And all natural peoples on our Mother Earth, once all knew and understood this, the entirety of our Mother Earth, all the peoples, all knew and understood this reality. Even in the non-native world, the white people, the white man, the white people had the same system as us, the same matrilineal system, the same clan system. It's only in about, as you can look at non-native history, it's about 3,000 or 4,000 years ago where you went crazy. And once you went crazy, it was your male dominance that once you're in a spiral, You're out of control. There's no way for you to stop this. There is only one thing that can stop this. And this is, once again, the knowledge of what you call the laws of physics, of which we call Kanienkehaka, the great law of peace. The great law of peace is how creation was created. It's law. And so when there is law, it tells you that there are things that are outside of law. And so anything that is outside of law is a corruption, is illegal. And so therefore, as a life protector, I cannot put myself in front of my mother. This is illegal. This is corruption. This is the reason why all false man-made religions on our Mother Earth are the cause of the destruction we are confronted with right now, and they are illegal. It is illegal to tell the lie that male is in front of female. The life giver is what created the life protector. And we cannot allow the corruption of the life protector turning into a simple poor excuse of a guy. I won't even say a man. This is what populates the world right now. What we must do is we must do exactly like what our grandmother Moon does. Going around and rejuvenating all life on earth, we must rejuvenate the minds of our children. We must not allow our children to be stuck in the same redundancy as what everyone on earth is following right now. So anyways, this is basically the moon teachings. There's a lot more to it. Today we are it's not the best moon teaching today because there was a lot of technicalities we're dealing with that went wrong and this and that, you know, and anyways, a lot of things testing us today. But that's it, basically, in a nutshell. This is the moon teachings. There, like we said, there's a lot more to it, but of course, to understand it, you know, you're not going to find this teaching anywhere else. I'll guarantee you. You will not find it anywhere else on the planet. The only reason why we have it is because we still have Kanienkehaka. This teachings is the knowledge of the people of the Longhouse. You must be Longhouse to have this knowledge. Anybody else will not have it. And anybody else, you could try to use it. Doesn't matter. It will be true. But if you try to use it, you will not be able to substantiate it. Because to substantiate it, you must use law. So we must teach our children law once again. The law of creation, the Kanienkehaka, great law of peace. Okay, so that being said, I don't know if anybody can ask us questions or whatever, but if we can go into questions now. I don't even know like what our communication is because of what happened here. I can't see anybody. I can't hear anyone. Edith just came in. So you tell me if there's questions or not. If there's not, then we'll just bring it to an end.
Nobody asked a question yet. Nobody asked to speak.
Okay. Well, if there's no questions, there's no point in us staying on. We're gonna bring it to an end. It's important to know that these teachings, the first time that you hear it, of course, you're not going to believe it. And most people don't even understand it. What I found in the past, to make adults understand this, you have to use children. Because adults, their minds are corrupted. So if we use children who understand simple physics, then they'll teach their parents. Okay, so but to continue the teachings, all of this, it's combined. It's not something that is separate on its own. It is only part and parcel of the Kanienkehaka. The Kanienkehaka, Great Law of Peace, is basically original instruction of how to live within creation, and this is what the rest of the world has lost. They have lost their original instruction. They no longer have law as to how to live in this world. And so when you don't have law, you don't know how to interact with things. And so you chop down all the trees. You pollute all the water. You dig up all the land. You destroy the minds of the children with war. This is the corruptions of the non-native world. And the purpose for this today is to turn the tides on this corruption, to give our children a fighting chance. Because as you know right now, everything that we are confronted with, our children do not stand a snowball's chance in hell of survival. We must do something, the equivalent of pulling a rabbit out of a hat, to save our children, to save the faces that are yet beneath the earth. And so we must give to them the complete knowledge, not just the moon teachings, but this, like we said, is part of Kanienkehaka, Great Law of Peace. Kanienkehaka includes the creation story, how creation began. It includes how our Mother Earth was formed. It includes the DNA of our Mother Earth. We can, and in future sessions, we will show you the DNA on our Mother Earth using non-native science. Non-native science will show you something that you haven't seen before. Even though if you had non-native science like a book right in front of you and you read the whole thing, guaranteed you will not know, because non-native science is reverse technology. It is not conducive to creation. It is destruction upon creation. And so we must teach them the creation story. We must teach them of the in-between times. This is something that even the people of the Longhouse today, people who claim to be Longhouse, people of the Five Nations Longhouse Confederacy, they no longer know of these in-between times. They no longer know of the story of the formation of the League. And therefore that means they no longer know Great Law of Peace. And so all of these things are all part and parcel. You cannot separate one from the other. Moon teachings, the creation story, the formation of the League, the in-between times, none of these are separated. They are all intertwined. The corruptions of the non-native world shows you the insanity of how we basically, if we take the body of our mother, we have sliced her and we have diced her and we have separated every part of her to say, oh, look at this little part of your eyeball. Oh, it's so nice. Look at this part of your ear. Oh, it's so nice. This part. But you know what? To do that, we have to dissect her. And this is the reverse technology of non-native science, as you know, that when the non-native affirmed or confirmed their theory of the existence of the atom, you know how they did it. This is not even 100 years now. It's only, I think that was only around 1923, actually. I think it was done in Cambridge University. The first what do you call it? Collider. Particle accelerator. The first particle accelerator. I'm pretty sure it was made in Cambridge. It was only this size. It was the size of a hockey puck. And what it was is how they proved or confirmed the existence of the atom is in that particle accelerator, they split. They tore apart the family. They tore the grandmother apart from the mother and tore the baby apart from them. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. They tore them apart. And then they took the baby and they accelerated that baby at the speed of light and smashed its head right into the head of the grandmother, annihilating them, killing them. This is how they learn, or how they confirm the existence of the atom. Let me put that into perspective for you. I'll say to you, there's a bunny rabbit hopping around in my backyard right there. The white man says, no, that's not a bunny rabbit. Prove it to me. And I'll say, look at how beautiful that bunny rabbit is. Look at it. It's hopping around. It goes like that with its nose. It's a beautiful bunny rabbit. What else can you say to prove that it's a bunny rabbit? The white man says, there's only one way for me to know that that's a bunny rabbit. And what the white man does is he splits that bunny rabbit in half. And then he looks at it. And he can see that there's little bunny rabbit lungs in there, little bunny rabbit heart, little bunny rabbit guts and all other stuff. But now it's a dead bunny rabbit. This is non-native technology, non-native science. The only thing that the non-native world knows about physics is about how to reverse it, how to tear it apart. That is the extent of the knowledge that the non-native world has, which they call science and technology. You are reverse technology. And so we must get back to our natural science. And our natural science can only be learned and can only be conveyed through the natural people's connection to our Mother Earth, through our ceremonial connection, through understanding it, not through splitting it. So the ceremony is, look, there's the bunny rabbit. No, I don't believe it's a bunny rabbit. You know what? We must come to terms together to establish what it is. This is the ceremony. The ceremony then depends on our interaction with that bunny rabbit. Not in a way that splits it, but in a way that is conducive and that permits it to continue to live, because this is who we are. We are the top of the food chain. We have the ability to permit something to continue living. And that means we have the ability to stop life. This is who and what we are. We are not observing, or we are not in some creation that some God created. We are, when we speak of our origins, we identify Yunkiya Dizu. This means those that created us. And so when we give thanks to Yunkiya Dizu, I am giving thanks to my mother and father for creating me. I am giving thanks to my grandparents on both sides for creating my parents, and on both sides of them and them and them. Giving thanks for creating them and them. And we'll find that this is how it goes. We find ourselves where we're at, a singular. We find that when we look backwards, there's more and more and more people. But then we find, just like our DNA, that it gets to a point where it starts to come back down to where there's just one mother to us all. And when we get to that point of understanding that we come from that one, that we know that we must be, our knowledge, our practices, the way that we are, must be conducive with her law. So we give thanks. We identify. Detinurado gurunga gari yogesu. Yeti sota asatanka garako dana yetinista. Tilmonzagi dana agwegu scott negunungwe. We give thanks to the great spiral of creation, the sky woman herself, because it is she who has given us spirit. We give thanks to the beating heart of our Mother Earth, to our grandmother Moon, because it is she who has given us blood. We give thanks to our Mother Earth, the mother of us all. And we give thanks to her because it's she who has given us body. This is science. This is natural science. Let's look into the womb of our mother as she gave life to us. The first thing is the spirit. This is the act of love that created us. So the spirit is the first thing. And like we said, once that once the embryo is activated and divides into itself, in order to do that, it has to have blood in there. So the second thing is our heart. Spirit, heart, which means blood. Spirit, blood. And then once these cells start to divide and create physical mass, and all of a sudden, here's just a blob, but all of a sudden, hey, there's like a little, looks like little arms, and then little legs, and all of a sudden you could see head and eyes. And then when the baby is born into this world, the mother gives body. This is our reality. This is the natural science of creation. From Sky Woman's spirit to our grandmother Moon's beating heart, to our Mother Earth's beautiful body that she has given us. It is only lent to us, and while we are here, we are supposed to protect and defend it. We are not supposed to allow, we are not to participate in the destruction of what has given us life. So, we give thanks to all things. We give thanks to the sacred bloodline that has brought me into this world, that has brought you into this world. We give thanks to all the medicines in all the shapes and forms they come in. All the waters in all the shapes and forms we come in. And as we just learned that there is water everywhere. Our grandmother Moon is water. You are 100% water. Everything throughout the waterverse, throughout the universe, anything that is, exists from water. So we acknowledge and we give thanks to the source of life, to our waters, to the great waters, to the lesser waters, to the waters that flow through our bodies, to the waters that make up our brains and keep us thinking, to the waters that brings new life into the world, new beautiful little babies, new beautiful little puppies, beautiful little baby birds. All the things come from water, and so we see the source of life is water. Water is the magic of creation. Magic. The water is the dream. And in that water, every cell holds all the information of the universe, of everything that ever was, everything that is, everything that's ever going to be. It is all held within one cell of water. Water holds the greatest information in all creation. We must learn once again how to have the proper interaction with her water, with her blood. We must once again become her children. And so we give thanks to our mothers. And I identify that I am my mother's son. And as my mother's son, I am bound by law to uphold my mother's law. I am bound to expand her law, to expand her teachings. We are bound to do this in order to maintain that the faces yet beneath the earth will still have an earth in which to rise from. Right now, everyone on earth, what you are doing right now, you are reaching through time and you are taking the food out of the mouths of your unborn children. This is what we are doing right now. This is corruption. This is what must be stopped. So we give thanks that we can even just come together on whatever level that we are, and that we can talk about the things that we are talking about, and that we know what our direction is. We give thanks to all the things in creation that create us and that make us up, and for all the beautiful connections that we have with each other, for our friendship, for our love, for our the things that make us who we are, the diversity of us, our anger, our fears, all of that stuff, everything that's wrapped up inside of us, and how we keep this in balance in relation to each other within our nations. We give thanks for who we are, where we are, when we are. We are in the best time ever. We are the most fortunate people ever because we are the ones that are called upon. Imagine yourself at the final playoff of whatever sports you can think of. It's the biggest game in the world, and it's the final playoff, and the coach calls you and sends you on the field. Imagine how fortunate you would be. This is where we are. this is what we give thanks for. So we say Nyawagoa. Thank you to everybody. Muchos gracias. Merci beaucoup. Danse. Now we'll leave it there.
Stuart, someone asked to speak.
Okay, I'm closing this.
And Marie-Claude has a message to tell people.
Marie-Claude has a message to tell to the people, and somebody has a question.
Okay, well, if there is, let's go to it then.
Okay, so the question first. So
Go ahead. If you want to come in and tell us. I don't know. Our technology, we had technology breakdown like usual. So we had to go into some real simplifications of our technology. Mary Claude and Edith had to actually both leave the building to translate. Anyways.
Hello everyone, just a very quick announce. This is the first, as Stuart explained. We just want to invite people. We don't want that to be mandatory, of course. We don't want anyone to be stopped from participating in these very important teachings. But if you are in a capacity to donate, we have had to upgrade this platform. We're paying everything out of our own pockets. It would be a much appreciated help if you have the means to do so. You can do wire transfer to our nonprofit organization. The email will be shared. So greatpeaceorg@gmail.com. This is, of course, in support of all the works that the Longhouse does. Everything is used to either pay a new computer if we could, or things like that. But appreciated if you could. And let's go with the questions if there are questions.
Well, I don't know. Edith said there was a question. Who's got the question?
I don't know.
Harold and France.
Harold and France.
So Harold, you asked to speak?
Yes, thank you, kindly.
Maybe you come over here and read the question.
Okay.
I can't hear the question because of I don't have any speaker here. I can't hear what you are saying. So Edith's going to come here and convey the question.
Okay, I will cut the translation then.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's cut.
Well, you know what? Here.
Well, you got to say it so people will hear.
No, everybody's gonna hear it. It's only you who's not hearing it.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Just take this.
Coronavirus. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Hello, check 1, 2, 3.
Oh, it's really low, Edith. Is there a way? Wait, hang on. Is there a way to turn this up?
Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3.
All the way?
All the
There we go. There we go.
You hear us now? Okay. So my question had to do when you were speaking of the heart in the single cell coming from our mother. Something that popped in my head was how beautiful of a design that is, and it reminded me of a previous moon teaching where you showed how the double helix plays into the moon and its interaction with us in the universe, waterverse as a whole. I wanted to know if you could touch on that again, just as a refresher, maybe some new things as well. Thank you kindly.
Uh-huh. Okay. The double helix. Okay. Sometimes, as you know, if anybody who's been with us, we could do a teachings on any given thing, and it's always going to be different. It's never going to be the same. The basic direction will be the same, but the details will, they won't change, but each time it'll be maybe like a new detail. And maybe one time we'll leave out an old detail. So it always fluctuates like this. It depends on really the day, how things are going. Today everything was hectic, and so we're really hectic right at the start, from the start of this. So a lot of things were left out or forgotten. But because we were looking at just doing a very basic here, very fast thing. But the double helix of DNA, this is where we can't see it, but really this is what's being woven by the interaction of our Mother Earth, our Grandmother Moon, and our eldest brother, the Sun. Our eldest brother, the Sun, is being pulled along with all the suns throughout the waterverse. They are all being pulled around that spiral, the great spiral of creation, from the central point, which is where our heart is. This is basically what powers your heart is coming from the center of the universe. That's where our heart is, the center of Sky Woman. So as she's rotating, spinning around the same way that an atom does, we'll look at the structure of an atom. That we know that the electrons, there might be on any given molecule, maybe there's only 2 or 3 electrons. But there we go, look at that. Okay, so just imagine that as the center of an atom, and you'll see all the electrons spinning around it. That's creating a mass. You can't see it in space on that level. You can't see the mass. But when you know that in your body on the molecular level, that these molecules are continuously regenerating, rejuvenating themselves to create what really basically is the illusion of physical matter. So the physical matter, no matter what, is created by the work that is going on the levels of turtle, wolf, and bear. Now, protons, neutrons, and electrons, they are creating the physical mass of us. Now, each of them, everything that exists has a bipolarity within it. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't mix this up with what non-native science today identifies as bipolar. No, this is a corruption. The reality is there are 2 polarities within us. Each of us, our brain, is divided into 2. We look at ourselves. We're divided into 2. I got left and right. My heart is divided into 2. I got the part that pumps out, got the part that pumps in. It's all the same thing, but it's a different function in a different instance. So that tells us that there is an equilibrium, a balance within each of us, where there is, like in our brain, to have that balance, a thought may begin on one side or the other, whatever. But in order for us to conclude on that thought, it has to journey from one side of the brain to the other to have a conclusion. It's basically you're counseling within yourself. You're having an idea, and you're saying, should I do it? Is this a good idea? And on the other side, you're counseling about it. And you say, well, maybe it needs to be altered. And it comes back to you, and you think, oh, okay, maybe I need to do this or that. We don't realize that in our thoughts, on every given thing during the day, even if you're going to have a cookie, your thoughts, it's being, there's a, what's the word here? I can't think of the word. Deliberation. There's a deliberation that's going on absolutely everything that you decide on throughout the day. And so to us, we'll break that deliberation down to just the 2 hemispheres of our brain on the level that we're at. But on the levels of our brain, on the molecular levels, there is something else going on there that we cannot see. It's where the 2 polarities, 2 opposites in any given thing, like 2 opposites of the heart. That's pumping out and pumping in. It's the same unit, but there are 2 opposites within it. A door has 2 opposites. You can open a door to go in or open a door to go out. 2 opposites to one single unit. So there is this two opposite polarities. No, these two opposite polarities are constantly in a state of deliberation to deduce if, if it's a balanced thing, if it's conducive with creation. And so when we're looking at DNA, we know that this is happening constantly because DNA, our double helix, which is a reality. We know it's inside of us. And we know that double helix is constantly renewing itself within us. This is a proven scientific fact. We can't see it, and so most people don't acknowledge it, and so they're never cognizant of what's actually going on in their body. But on the level of our DNA, now imagine right here in my pinky finger, I got trillions of these cells of DNA that look exactly like this. There are two sides of a ladder, if you want. Like imagine a ladder with no rungs. So just a long, tall piece of wood or aluminum, whatever. What happens on the level of DNA, as you know, there's whatever you want to call it, an enzyme, or there's a worker. There's a worker there that sees these things floating through empty space. And what it is it's nothing. Because on that scale of DNA, the things that are added to DNA are so much smaller than the structure of DNA itself. It's like, to us, it's virtually undetectable to the naked eye. But when you see there's, like in the dusty room, or dust, you look in at your house, you look through a window where the sun's coming through, and you'll see little dust particles. This is all we're made up of. Well, there's this worker, catches one of these little dust particles and places it as a rung in between the double helix. Now there is a fact to that DNA, is that the worker, the enzyme or whatever it's called, the worker that places it there also has to determine if that thing fits there. And if it doesn't fit, the enzyme, whatever you want to call it, the worker takes that thing back out and just casts it away to oblivion. And it's gone back into creation for it to go through the recycling process once again. But if it fits and it stays there, then that is the rungs binding the two strands of DNA together. And as we know, as that image that was shown, that we are spiraling around a central point. So that means that this is what's happening. This is DNA. This is the DNA structure of the Kanienkehaka, the two-row wampum, is rooted within that reality of the structure of DNA. So that double helix is a reality that is pumping through our veins every second of the day, in our blood. It is in our thoughts. There we go. Here, we'll get a better, easier to picture it, easier to envision it. Yeah, there's those stellar winds. Stellar winds, the solar winds, those are a real thing. And when we go outside of our individual cell, outside of our solar system, there are those things, what is then identified as stellar winds. Inside of our solar system, it's our solar winds. So the stellar winds is just like when we say we give our thanks to the great waters and the lesser waters, or to the great winds and the lesser winds, because it is within inside of us. These great winds, these lesser winds are within each of us. The great waters, lesser waters are within each of us. Every cell within our body is a duplicate, an exact duplicate of the entire waterverse. So this is the paradox of our creation. Now, we know we go in a cycle. Where is the beginning? Where is the end? We only have to be happy that we are in the cycle. Creation has begun this thing. The heart of our mother has given us a reality. She has formulated our brains in which to be able to deduce this reality, to decipher what this reality is, to then be able to know how to live within the reality. Because again, we identify physics. People say physics. Well, there's laws of physics. Laws of physics is the laws of creation. The laws of creation is the great law of peace. It's how we exist in this world, and in this world, how we are going to determine, or how we are going to be walking in balance or not, is determined by if we have access to Guyana Restaurant or not. Now, to have access is to have everything that you have access to today. All the knowledge of the universe is already there today. But like we said, it's a reverse understanding that you have of it. So the reverse technology, the reverse understanding, if you get in on that vein, reverse, no matter what, you're going to have science, but it's going to be a science that's tearing apart creation. We must have Goyandawana, which again is only provided through Kanienkehaka. There's only one way to provide this. You know, anybody can say there's more than one way to skin a cat. That might be so. You can skin a cat maybe 100 different ways, but there is only one way to live in this world. There is not 100 different ways. There's only one way, and that is to be conducive to creation. Anything outside that is outside of conducivity is reverse technology. So anyways, I don't know if I touched that enough about the DNA, about the double helix, but anyways, that's about as close as we're going, I think.
I heard
Wait. There's some person there.
Angel,
Frances to speak.
I think we thank you for
Okay,
the
Wait.
Hi, Stuart.
Okay.
Well, this is a very amazing day.
Super journée aujourd'hui.
I'm kind of honored to be part of this.
Et honorée d'être là-dessus.
Okay, wait.
Marie, il faut que je coupe la traduction quand il y a des questions.
I hear Mary Claude too,
Okay.
and it's talking over.
It's okay, Stuart.
It's okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, I was gonna tell you about these videos, and you got into it, so I just share them, and I thought it was another proof about how we are becoming such a the same kind of brain, you know. And I wanted you to just touch down a little bit about this common brain that we have, specifically women. But you know, I know that you get it, because oftentimes it happens like I think about a subject and then you get into it, and or Angel gets into it, or Marie Claude, and it just amazes me, you know, that we are there now.
Okay, yeah. Everybody, because of the life process that was created from our great mother, that we all have a consciousness. We all, each of us, we can see stuff, we hear stuff, whatever our consciousness means. All of our senses. So touch, smell, sight. What else? Hearing. Touch, sight, smell, hearing. What's the fifth one? Taste. Well, there is a sixth one. And that sixth one is, nobody views it as being us. But the sixth one is our dogs. Our dogs is our sixth sense. And this is what connects us to the rest of the natural world, to the rest of creation. It's actually through our dogs that is the link to the rest of creation. On the levels of where we know that everything else in creation has a consciousness also. You can tell just by looking at a dog. When they look at something, they sense something. You know they're conscious. Okay. All things have a consciousness. But the individual, again, going back into what was identified earlier about how the individual has within their mind a deliberation process. So you do have a consciousness that is subjected to something other than your own consciousness. And this is where you have an idea. Well, I got an idea of, well, I'm gonna break these glasses. Well, wait a minute. Is that a good idea? I gotta deliberate that. And then in that instance, I don't even acknowledge, but somebody might have that idea of breaking their glasses, and then they'll say, no, never mind, I won't break them. The deliberation process goes on in their own mind. Now we think that this is an individual process. It is not an individual process. We are individuals connected to a central point of consciousness. Just like in our body, right here, if I pinched or if I bit it, it hurts because there's nerve endings there. Those nerve endings are responding to something that happened. That means each of those nerve endings has a consciousness. In order for it to know, like, hey, what is that? Because when you get bit there, it transmits that information to your central point of consciousness in an instance, and you can tell that's pain. How do you know that's pain? Over here, you're determining that's pain. How do you know that way over here on the other side of the universe, basically, because that's the equivalent of when we're looking at the realm of the very small, this is a universe within inside of us. So how does this message get here from way out here, the outer edge of the universe, that, hey, there's a little bit of pain there? It's because it is conscious. It is aware. Every part of us, every cell is consciousness. Every cell within creation is what makes up part of what is part and parcel to the larger body. Edith, does that mean you're not translating no more?
Yeah, because I mean, there's nobody in the Zoom on the Spanish anyways, and I was recording, but I cannot record anymore. So, but it's okay. I'll do it after.
Okay. So where was it? Okay, every nerve ending in your body is transmitting information constantly. So this cell over here, in my tip of my finger on my right hand, transmitting information. The cell on my left hand is transmitting information constantly. You don't know it. You will probably only notice it if there is something biting your finger for you to go, ouch. But if there's nothing there biting your finger, you don't go, ouch. You're not really noticing anything. But there's still that open phone line of communication that is continuously going on. And right now, because I'm not getting bit over here on my finger, what it's transmitting is that everything's okay. So everything's okay. That is the norm of our existence. So we tend not to notice it. We tend to become accustomed to that. At the norm, everything's okay. So we don't even notice that communication. We only notice it when we get pinched or somebody slaps us or something happens, and then, whoa, we become aware. In our bodies, this identifies that this cell over here has consciousness, this cell over here has consciousness, here, everywhere is a consciousness. Within our collective, this identifies a collective consciousness, that there is no one that has an individual consciousness. You can think that on your own, you could lock yourself in a room and not have any contact with anybody, and you're going to be conscious of things. You could talk to yourself. You're going to know. You're conscious. But your consciousness is linked it is connected to every other consciousness. Now, you may not know it, but this point that's communicating here is simultaneously communicating to this other point. Every point of our body is aware. It's just us when we get, because of the corruption of male dominance takes away our complete knowledge of the reality of creation, means that, well, these 2 points, we think they're not communicating anymore. No, they're still communicating. The only one that's left out of the loop is us, because we have closed our eyes off. We have reduced our vision from being able to see such things, to be able to know such things, to where we're now completely unaware of what's happening in the realities of creation every second of the day. You know that right now you have skin falling off of your feet. You have skin falling off of your face even. You know that your skin cells rejuvenate themselves every day. You know that modern science tells you that I think it's somewhere around 80% of all common household dust comes from the human body. It's actually skin falling off of us. So this tells us that, well, you're not aware of it. The skin that's falling off of us is having an interaction with the skin that's right there being rejuvenated. So there's 2 things right there that are interacting. They're within us. And both of their actions are being conveyed to our central point of consciousness. And so our central point of consciousness becomes aware of it. But you bring in male dominance cancels out one side of the brain, meaning that actually means that both sides of the brain can no longer function, because the male dominant side that cancels out the female side is basically, it's supposed to communicate to conclude proper. So that means that any thought that's coming from the male side that is supposed to go to the female side isn't. It's actually just spinning around in its own side, chasing its tail around like a dog, chasing its tail around in circles, never getting anywhere. This is how we are no longer, or this is reason why we are no longer conscious of the things that are going on within us, the realities that are all around creation, because it is a direct result of male dominance closing off the human mind, the proper function of how the way the human brain functions. We cannot function on just one side of the brain. We can, if needed be, we can stay alive, but it's not proper. It's not made that way. We are made with 2 hemispheres of our brain for a reason. We don't just have one big blob in there and it's just one thing. Science tells us. Science is very clear that it's 2 things. Science don't understand what it is. It can't, again, because it's reversed. But the only way to understand this, again, is through Gayandawana. And Gayandawana, the balance can only be attained through the ceremonial process of creation. And people will think, ceremonial process, they'll get turned off by that because of the word ceremony. It's a corruption of, I'll say it's probably just the best word that we could come up with from one language to another, but it does not do it justice, because ceremony implies some type of, it implies some type of thing where you got to be, a certain way or something. But the reality of our creation is that we're very diverse. All the people are very diverse. Some people like to play. Some people just work. Some people just like to lay in the sun. Some people just like to swim, plant. We're not all excelling in the same thing. And that's the way that the body is, that all the cells are not going to all be doing the same thing. The cells in my heart are doing heart stuff. The cells in my kidneys are doing kidney stuff. We can't have kidneys doing heart stuff, and we can't have heart stuff doing lung stuff, and vice versa. This is the corruption of male dominance, where male dominance turns into colonization, colonization turns into genocide, which turns everything into one thing. So the entire body is shifted around the cells from each organ and has made each organ conduct itself like one thing. And that one thing that all humans on earth are conducting themselves as is not human. It's not a human thing. It is a male dominance that all people are conducting themselves under, which means imbalance, which means chaos, which means you'll never have peace. Which gets us to where we are today, currently, in the situation that we're in. It's very easy to understand how and why we got here. And therefore, it's very easy to understand how to correct. All things that are wrong on earth can be corrected by one thing, one action. And that is by removing the male dominant corruption on our Mother Earth. And the only way to do that is through the ceremony that regains the knowledge of Kanienkehaka of law, which will then empower you to be able to even just say, return our mothers back to their natural seat of authority within all of our nations so they can manage our people properly once again. Just to be able to say that. I dare and I challenge all people of the world, say that. Even if you don't want to put a mother to that action, all we got to do is identify that humans, look at what has happened. Humans are not to be governed. No. Humans are to be managed. We are a power, an undeniable power that is not our own, does not come from us. It is our mother's power. It is what our mother has given us while we're here. And if you want to say, we're basically in the dream factory. This is where the dreams manifest. And so each of us, once we get recycled, once you die and you get recycled through creation, and then you're out there having your dream, and then you come back again, and then you can have that dream physically manifest here in the dream factory. If we allow the corruption to continue, the dream factory of our Mother Earth will be destroyed. And there will be no more dreams that will be held here in this beautiful, beautiful place that has been given to us. This sacred gift, we know we're destroying it. It is where we exist, where we get to live out our dreams, where we get to have and live with all of our beautiful little dreams, the beautiful little dreams that we can bring into this world. I think of this now on different levels than I used to when I was younger. I think of this now on different levels now that I have two of my own beautiful dreams. Now I have two beautiful dreams that I have to look out for that stemmed from my one dream. And when my one dream seen that other dream, we got together and created two beautiful dreams. In order for those two beautiful dreams to exist, I got to ensure that this place is free of any viruses. And the only true virus that is here, that is poisoning creation, destroying our Mother Earth, is the poison that came out of the white European male dominant human experiment. That is the only virus on our Mother Earth. I am not identifying that the white is the virus. I said what came out of their corruption. Their corruption of when they went male dominant. And that male dominance is a cancer. And like in your body, cancer will spread everywhere in your body, and it will consume, it will destroy all the healthy cells. It doesn't make the cancer powerful. It doesn't make the cancer the authority. It just makes the cancer cancer, that which destroys. So we identify here that we all are part of a collective consciousness. Now, the only thing is, in the non-native world, is that you have no way of experiencing that. Because the part of where, here, my nerve ending in my right index finger and the nerve ending in my left index finger, as we said, they're constantly sending information, knowledge to my central point of consciousness. They are communicating every day, every second of the day. My central point of consciousness is the place where they communicate. This is the central fire of the 5 nations. This is the thinking. The central fire of the 5 nations Longhouse Confederacy is where we are exposed to collective consciousness, where we become aware of that which is on the other side of the so-called universe, the other side of the waterverse, something that we in our physicality here on our Mother Earth, we will never physically ever get to see or be aware of because it's too insanely far on the other side of the universe. But through the central fire, we can all become aware of one another. This is the same role that the Mayan people played for all the people of Turtle Island. They were the central fire, and all the knowledge from all the confederacies of the north, all the confederacies of the south, all met at that central fire. And therefore, I, where I am in the north, can and will know everything of my sisters and brothers here, as far south as we can go, into Mapuche, into the Mapuches, into all the peoples. It's through the central fire. So the central fire gives us a collective consciousness. You cannot exist as a human being within just your own consciousness. If you do, you're the cancer cell. This is what the white man's democracy does to all the people. It takes you out of the collective, turns you into an individual that then destroys the collective, because the individual then is told to pursue their own personal happiness, their own personal wealth, all of that. Where did he get it from? Where did he get that personal stuff from? They ain't got nothing on their own because they've been pulled out of the collective. Where did he get it from? They have to steal it from the collective. And to steal, they have to destroy. This is the male dominance. This is how it dysfunctions. And so now we know why and how it dysfunctions. We know what happened in the minds on the other side of the world, in the non-native people, and what happened to, in particular, the white people. What happened to them is that it was first done to them. And what was done to them is to separate. Just like if I wanted to, if I came up to you as a bully and I wanted to fight, push you, and you didn't want to fight. Well, if you just said to me right away, you don't want to fight, I'm going to say, okay, I'll just walk away. But a bully is there to make you fight. And so how a bully will do it is he will strip away parts of you, parts of your consciousness, parts of your humanity. Strip it away until we just get to that core of where it's amygdala and where you will fight. This is what's happened to the white man, is that this is what they have done. That in the creation story, there's a lot to this story, but basically, in a nutshell, we are all of one being. And when you look at all the people here, all of one being, all the same color, all look the same way. You can go from one community to the next, everywhere, it doesn't matter. I'm going to see somebody who looks like my cousin. I'm going to see somebody who looks like my ex-girlfriend. I'm going to look like somebody who looks like my mother, looks like my father, my son, looks like me. You go to as far as you can to the far north, as far as you can to the far south. You know what? Those are people who look the same way, the same color. You take their clothes off, they're not white. They are of the same color. There is something that happened to the non-native people. You don't know it. And the majority of you, of course, are not ready to hear it. But this comes out in the creation story as to how all of that which makes us human was stripped away from us. And each of those things are traits that are linked directly to the powers of the color spectrum. The color spectrum is inside of us. And when we have all of those colors together, we have equilibrium. We have balance, we have peace. But you strip them away, and then you have individuality. And when you have individuality that doesn't relate to the others, then you have a bunch of enemies. And when you have a bunch of enemies, you have a collective that is committing suicide. And this is the non-native world, committing suicide. Because you don't know what has happened to you. You are unaware what has been done to you. You are the result of an experiment. You are just not aware of it. Anyways, collective consciousness is experienced through the council process. And this is the reason why the non-native world will never understand collective consciousness. It's beyond your comprehension, because to comprehend it, you have to have the mechanism. You don't have that mechanism. You have what you call government. Government is a whip, and it's a chain on your hands. It's a chain on your legs, preventing you. It's a chain even on your mouth, telling you what you can and can't eat. And nowadays, even what you can and cannot say. And it's a chain on your brain, on your spirit, telling you today even what you can and cannot think. You cannot think these things. It's not politically correct. So this means we can never address the true corruptions that are here amongst us. How could you exist in a place where you can't address corruptions? You are an experiment. You're like, basically like cattle. You're hit with a cattle prod. Go that way. Oh, okay, you go that way. You hit here. Oh, go that way. You go this way. And then you hit over here. Oh, you back up. This is basically what you are, the non-native world, in democracy. Democracy is the corruption. It is what the manifestation of male dominance is, what it looks like. It looks like democracy. Look everywhere on earth where democracy goes. What's the first thing that happens? War. Corruption. It brings corruption into the people. This is male dominance. It cancels out one side of the brain. All the cells in that one side of the brain, then, they are never getting the fuel, the energy that they need from the other, so they have to steal from what's inside just that one part of the brain. It's the suicidal person. A suicidal society. Yes, the non-native world is part of a collective consciousness which you are not aware of, but what you are a part of, your consciousness is basically, it's a person that is killing themselves, committing suicide. So all the non-native world, you're just the cells in a brain that is killing itself. Okay, anyways, if there's nothing else from there.
No, but Celine had something to say here. You should just go close to the computer, Celine, so everybody hears you.
Question?
It was something that you made me realize. You were talking about the balance between like the heart that pumps in and the heart that comes back out. And this week I had a question that was deliberating in my mind, was that I heard of, they were talking about the helix, and that there's always an outside helix and an inside helix. And when we were talking about the balancing, I was thinking, okay, so what would balance the woman and the man? And then it answered my question I had this week, that probably the outside helix is the female and the inside helix is the male, so that the male would add the prawns and help the woman to continue to do the DNA. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just something that popped in my head when we were talking about it.
Okay, Edith, can you bring one of those turtle bottles? Give me 1 second, I'll show you something. Okay, this is very important, the inner and outer, because I'm existing and I have an outside of me and there's an inside of me. If I didn't have the inside, the outside would not exist. And in order to have an inside, I have to have an outside. So it's kind of like the chicken or the egg scenario. But as we know, the chicken and the egg scenario, in all of humanity, it is the most important question. And for them, the rest of humanity, it's the only question that is answered. But imagine, you got the most important question and you can never answer it. That's because of the stupidity of the God syndrome. Of you create a lie that is, you're told that you have to believe, that you cannot substantiate. So you're living on lies, and those lies then are extrapolated into everything else that you do. So that means nothing is understandable. But anyways, many people know of, it's identified about Sky Woman had landed on the turtle's back. And people think, turtle's back. For the turtle's back to be created, you can't create the back. For the back to be created, you have to create the inside. The inside must be created first. But while you create the inside, just imagine you're taking a step. Left, right. Every bit of growth, evolution, just imagine it as a step. Just like when the embryo starts to divide in the mother. That just imagine the embryo is the first step. When it divides, it's the second step. So everyone is a step. So that means that right here, this stuff that's being created on the inside of the turtle, very complex on the inside. It actually doesn't look anything like the outside. When we know that the outside has 13 squares, these are the 13 squares symbolizing the 13 moons, and then it has the 28 little squares on the outside of that, which is 28 days. These are not days, like to say, like the way that today humans understand Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. No, these are here not as those incremental measurements of time. These are here in relation to our mother's moons. That's why these are never the same. They're never exact, because they go by our mother's moons. Because the moon is the step, is the incremental step. So on the inside, as these steps are being made to create this right there, there's a simultaneous step that's happening here on the outside. Like what you said, but you just got it in reverse. The female is on the inside, the male is on the outside. Like, do you have any eggs here?
Yeah.
One egg? I could have just talked about an egg and not showed you, but it's better. If we look at this, we know that there's two realities. There's the hard outer shell, and then there's everything else that's on the inside. Everything else that's on the inside is where it's happening. That's where the creation is happening. This is where creation is being protected. This is the male, protecting, the life protector. Now, that male is created out of the existence of what's on the inside, out of the existence of the female. It is created out of necessity. And when we go back to the very beginnings, the very instances of creation, this is where, you know, just like you, first time you try something, maybe water skiing. First time you tried it, maybe you couldn't stand up. Maybe you couldn't do it. Big deal. Didn't stop you from trying it again. So you try it again, and then maybe you can stand up right away. Maybe you're a little bit, you know, not able to. But it's, as you know, trial and error. This is the reality of creation. even though there is a design, a blueprint to creation, there are many variables to anything. Myself, used to be an iron worker. Any iron worker will tell you, iron working, you know, people who build high rises and bridges and stuff like that. I used to do that. I was proud at one time, the same way that everybody was proud today, you know, proud Mohawk iron workers. I was proud up until I realized that I was building the machine that is destroying our mother. I was working on factories. I was working on bridges. I was building high-rise buildings. And anyways, I came to my senses and I said, I'm building the very thing that's destroying our mother that I'm fighting against. I was fighting against myself. I realized. And so I corrected. It was a trial and error for me. In my life, in the span of my life, that's really only a very short time because I was only an iron worker for 16 years. Right now, let's see, 16 years isn't even a quarter of my life. No, it is a quarter. A little less than a quarter of my life. No, a little more than a quarter of my life, I mean. But, so, trial and error for that short time until I corrected my my corruption. Until I stopped being an iron worker. I gave it up. And it was hard to do that. There was iron workers make a lot of money. You get used to a 40-hour-a-week paycheck. You know, that for everybody today, that's food on your table. Once you get stuck in that groove, you become comfortable there. You become complacent. You begin to think that, well, this is the only way to put food on my table. Anyways, I came to my senses. I said, no more. I'm not going to build a machine. There's nothing to be proud of in being an iron worker. So I gave that up. So trial and error until I got it right. I got it right where I don't do that anymore. I don't build the machine that's destroying our mother. This is really what defines a person. A person could say anything that they want. Say, save Mother Earth. But then, well, okay, well, you're driving a car. Well, yeah, it's contributing to it, but that's really stupid nonsense for anybody to say anything like that. But if I am actually building the things that I am speaking against, then that's a crazy corruption. That would make me insane. This is where most of the world is today. They're insane because they are not walking 2 steps simultaneously. Like was said, in order to build the top, you had to first build the inside. That had to be built. So we are literally walking, living a mirror image. And you know that everything that we're seeing is our eye perceives it. And the convex shape of our eye bubble inverts that image and then conveys that into our brain to make it understandable. Because our brain, we don't understand that our brain is actually rooted in this world, on the inside. And everything else is on the outside. All that we're perceiving. This is the reason why our eye bubbles have the convex shape, have the water that does invert the image that you're seeing. So that it can get to to your primary point of consciousness, which is the interior. Because, like was said, in order to build this, you have to build this first. So that's the reason why for the inversion in the eyeball. To get what is seen on the surface to be understandable on the interior. So we don't realize that we are walking in 2 realities every second of the day. We are literally multi-dimensional beings. It's not just 2 dimensions. I said we're walking in 2 realities, but we walk in many dimensions every single day. There's many dimensions to us. And in order for us to exist in Goyandawana, in balance, that we have to take this step from what the Mayans identify as the underworld. That is the first step we must make. And that's why our brains deduce. That's why we come to conclusion first. Instead of doing like in the non-native world, well, they just do something and it's stupid and it just destroys stuff. There's no thinking to any of their actions, because the knowledge of human, the knowledge of creation is gone from them because of the God syndrome. Anyways, so like the Mayans identify, you take the step from the underworld and the step from this world, the top world, if you want to say, again, under this scenario, the underworld, the interior, to here, there's 2 steps that we take. There's the under, and there's the one above. And that's just to my right leg, and that's to my left leg also. 2 steps to each of them. 2 motions to each action that I take with my hands. Everything is rooted first within the inner. So this is where we can see then there is a deeper consciousness, collective consciousness that we have access to. Now imagine if you're right here on the back of the turtle. Okay, your consciousness, your awareness is pretty much going to be limited to the area of what you could observe. But if you're taking steps simultaneously here in the inner, then you have access to everything. So your first step must be on this level. It cannot be coming from here. This is putting the cart before the horse. This is the non-native world. Put the cart before the horse. You're dead before you're even alive. Okay, so just another thing for people's information. You know that the turtle's back, this is where Sky Woman put her power into the turtle's back, the 13 squares. This is every woman. Every woman has your 13 moons. Every woman has your 28 days. Every woman is weaving a different pattern around every other woman, who is weaving a pattern around our Mother Earth, who is weaving a pattern around our Grandmother Moon. Because our Grandmother Moon is the beating heart, is what was first before our Mother Earth. Now, science today will confirm this, but science will not tell you that the Earth came from our Grandmother Moon. They will not tell you that. But science, check this out yourself. Go to NASA's website and look for parents of the Earth. And parents of the Earth, you're going to find the planets that they call Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, all of them. You're going to find all of them in our Mother Earth. But if you go look at the samples that NASA has of our Grandmother Moon, you go on NASA's website for this. Don't believe me, but prove me to be wrong. NASA's website identifies that, well, our Grandmother Moon, when you look at who's her parent, you're not going to see Jupiter, Saturn, or any of the other planets, but you will see our Mother Earth. This tells you something. If a piece of our Mother Earth was taken off right now and put in the moon and you looked at it, you would see, because of our Mother Earth has Saturn, Jupiter, all of that stuff in it, you would see that on the moon, but you don't. This is a scientific fact. So it's very easy to deduce what is the truth? What is the facts here? But the non-native world can't, because again, you're in reverse technology. What the truth is here is that since you cannot find anything else in the moon other than the earth, it tells you that the earth came out of our grandmother moon. And then our mother earth was bombarded by all of those other elements. If it's not in our grandmother moon, how could this be when our grandmother moon is circling our mother earth continuously? Well, if here comes a bit of, let's say, here comes a bit of Saturn, and it's coming right at our mother earth, but our grandmother moon is spinning around her, Saturn is going to hit our grandmother moon, or that piece of Saturn, or that piece of Jupiter, or that piece of whatever. It's going to hit our grandmother moon. We wouldn't be, however, look, different trains of thought will tell you 7 billion years, 14 billion years. We wouldn't be this far into the game and not have any of those collisions take place with our grandmother moon. How is it they're all just happening to our mother earth? This is where the parent, it tells you that the moon did not come out of our mother earth. Our mother earth did not come out of the moon. It's the same way that when you look into the embryo, that embryo that is in the womb of our mother, again, in order for those cells to divide, it's got to have blood in them. Tells you the heart was beating first. Which heart? Again, our great mother's heart. That's what gave the power. So, this tells us that something kick-started us. And that kickstart then enabled our cells to divide and then to build ourselves based on the blueprint that comes from our mother and father. Well, okay, we take bits and pieces of this, and then we end up looking the way that we do. A bit of my mother, a bit of my father, traits from both. But the beginning of our cycle, of us being, is coming from that heart. It's the impetus on that spirit level that causes the cells to, they say divide, but you know they're not dividing. They're expanding. They're multiplying. So in order for those cells to multiply, they all carry the same instruction. That instruction comes from the original embryo. That original embryo started to divide because of the heartbeat of our mother. It started that process. And so anyways, it divided. And this is where we have what we identify as the twins. Taronyawago and Sawiskara. Many people say one is the good twin, one is the evil twin. Anybody who says that is stupid. They do not know what they are talking about. Because to say that then implies that while there are things in creation that are pure evil and things in creation that are just good. That's impossible. Because all things in creation come from the two. And they are in balance. There is no evil in that. What is evil is when the individual decides to be an individual and separate from the collective. The collective of, we go back to turtle, wolf, and bear. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. By law, they're supposed to hold on to each other. Because if they don't, imagine if one lets go, what happens to the other one? Do they continue to exist? No. But the one that lets go, do they continue to exist? No. So, the one that decides to let go, the one who can elect, the one who imagines themselves having the decision, choice. It's your choice. This is the non-native world. You have a choice. You can believe in lies, which you all do. You live lies, or you can believe in truth. But you all choose to live lies. And so this is where you let go of reality. And when a person, like on that level of protons, neutrons, and electrons, if they let go, that one would be evil. There is no evil twin. There never was. Anybody who identifies that, again, they're not Longhouse people. They're stupid people. They're religified people. The fact is that Taronyawago and Sawiskrita, even when you look at whoever's on the computer right now, Angel or Mary Claude, can you get one of those images of the turtle shell, you know, where they have the numbers on there, 1 to 13? If any of you can find that image, just share that. And when you get it on there, then I'll start to address that. But we know that on the turtle shell, that this is where the twins are. The Sky Woman landed on the turtle's back, and she created the creation. Make a long story short, the twins are there as the hands of Yonkiat Dizu to create. They're reading the blueprint, and the blueprint is, okay, here's the image. The blueprint, anyways, that the twins are reading is Sky Woman, their mother. They're reading the blueprint. And so their mother, they look, okay, here's our mother, says to do this, says to do that, says to do this. And here's the blueprint that she gave. Right in front of you is the turtle's back. And this is the way that everyone in the world today perceives the turtle. This is a lie. This is the image that is shared everywhere on the internet, and everybody is seeing this image. And if you look at where number 1 is, and you look at where number 13 is, if you start off in a pattern like this, here's the first step. And if you're walking around, there's only one way to be in a cyclical motion, is that I would have to end up right back where number 1 is. But when you look at this, you end up in a dead end. That's a dead end. Anybody who follows this numbered system on the turtle's back is a fool. That does not exist that way. I'll show you where the twins are. Now going by where, no, if you can leave that image on there still. Just wait until I say take it off. Can you share that image back again? Okay, you look at this image, you look at where number 1 is. This implies, well, it implies that's where you begin. Okay, so who's beginning there? It's either Sky Woman that's beginning there, or it's the twins that are beginning there. So either one, it doesn't really matter. Let's just look, if you begin there, is that a repetitive cycle? No, it isn't, because it takes you to a dead end. That is not where Sky Woman is. Number 1, that is not where the twins are. That's not. I'll show you. Okay, you can take that image off. This is the turtle's back. And on the turtle's back, when you're here on the surface in this outer world, you can't see the twins. You can't see the twins anywhere on the turtle's back. I know this myself because I've had turtle rattles. I've worked with turtle rattles, utilized them all my life, and I never seen the twins on the turtle's back until I walked across the country in 2015 on the walk to bring our mothers back to power, and I was sharing a moon teachings with a group of young girls in a group home. There was a 13-year-old girl who was pregnant. Anyways, and in the talks, I forget exactly what it was pertaining to, but it was about this stuff. And she said something to me about the twins. And it really stopped me in my tracks. I said, what? Wait a minute. I never heard anything like this from anybody. And it caused me to see something. And this is what I seen. I seen where the twins are on the turtle's back. And it was this 13-year-old pregnant girl that pointed this out to me. and she couldn't see it. She didn't know what she was talking about, like visually to see it on the turtle's back. She did not know, but she made me see it. This is where the twins are. Right there. Twins. I can't point to them. Twin? Twin. That's the blueprint. That's Sky Woman. That is what you call protons, neutrons, and electrons. That's what I call turtle, wolf, and bear. That's how we understand the creation. And so, right here, this is their first step. If you can show that image one more time, you see where their first step is? Right here in the first big square on the turtle's back. Now look at what everybody is being taught. Everybody is being taught this lie that leads you to a dead end. The twins are not here in this square on the left. Sky Woman is not there on that square on the left. So that number one is a lie. And everybody's being lied to. And you're basically where everybody's being lied to is on the trivial level, because where everybody's being educated about this is not in where in the proper method, like say in ceremony or in the longhouse. No, you know where you're learning this? You're learning this off the internet. You're learning this off of the souvenir stores that sells you stickers that has it depicted like this, which means you're getting this from the white man. That's a lie. Here's the truth. You could take that turtle off now. Here's the truth. Sky Woman. Twins. That's where they are. They're in the blueprint. And they're in that first square right there on the mother's back. And this is where it comes to the twins. They're male. That's where it comes to today. Remember where those twins are, right here on the back. And today, within the longhouse, under the law, the men are identified as Rodiskanagete. That means they carry our ancestors. Where do we carry our ancestors? Just like anybody, we carry things on our back. Rodiskanagete, in order to be that, is not what the perception is of today of the corruption of warrior society. No. What they are to be is in balance. And when you're in balance, this is peace. This is the knowledge of the twins right here. That other symbol, that's the lie that everybody is being filled with. And that lie will never get you anywhere except to a dead end. Oh, okay, anyways, I don't know. Is that it? There's no more questions, is there? No more? Okay, no more questions, no more anything. All of this stuff, if it's the first time you're hearing it, like anything, it's going to take a while to absorb it. As we identify within law, like when you are in law recital, it always goes back. When you do law recital, it goes right back to the formation of the League of Peace, right at the very instance. And when the people accepted it, the Ganaweeda told the people that now you must rest, because it is like all this knowledge is fresh in the minds of the people. And that means they are like babies. And as babies, when they go through a new thing, like a baby being born, you must rest. This is the natural pattern of creation. This is the way our mothers have made it. Come into the world, a lot of work, a new reality, rest. And then when you rest, you awaken. Then our mother feeds us. And we'll be able to continue to carry out the work of the twins. And we continue our walk that will get us back to the 13th and to continue that cycle. Where these twins walk together is straight down the center. And then, as they are twins, this is what they did. They separated right here. And they both came around their own side, making their own side, making their left, making their right. They both came around and they ended up here again at the 13th square, at the first square, in a repetitive cycle, able to continue doing the same thing. Because don't forget, we were talking about a single cell, an embryo that divides into itself. This is the single cell, the embryo that divides into itself. A lot more to all of this. There's a lot more to the natural science of creation that only the Kanienkehaka will reveal to you. There is absolutely nothing in creation that is not understandable. I don't care if it's something on the other side of the waterverse. If you can think the furthest point on the other side of the universe that you could imagine, it is knowable. It is understandable because it is us. We are it. This point on my pinky finger can understand and relate to the point on my pinky toe. They're opposite ends of the universe. They can understand each other because they are built the same way on the same process, the same law of creation. Kanienkehaka, you want to call it laws of physics, applies everywhere to all things, and therefore is completely understandable, which means it's completely manageable to us. Not controllable, but manageable. And this is why we go back to where these twins are guided by one point. They are guided by the mother that gave them life. This is the only thing that will control the two hemispheres of my brain, nothing else. And law is filtered through when there is a balance of those two sides of the hemisphere. Law is filtered through. All that will happen, all that will do is only law. Everyone else will have individual perceptions, and they will see me doing something that is law, and their individual perception, they will perceive it as that they are right, but they are wrong. There is only one right in the world, and it is not your false individual perception. It is the truth of the collective of creation. The collective consciousness is where we return to. And so we give thanks. We give thanks to the whole family. So think in your mind, what does this mean, the whole family? Does that mean your sisters and brothers? Does it mean your cousins? Does it mean the people in your town, the people in your territory, the people in your country, the people in your world? Does it mean all things within our solar system, within our galaxy, within our waterverse? This is our family, all the way up to Sky Woman herself. We give thanks for all of this, and again, who we are, where we are, when we are. We have been given the greatest gift, and what that gift is each other. And we must utilize our gifts. We'll use each other to discover what our collective truth is once again, and together we will return to our humanity. This is our only reality. If this is not done, reality will be snuffed out. Don't forget, there is a male-dominant monster loose in this world that is out to kill and destroy absolutely everything. And he continues to do so through his mechanism of democracy. So we must stand against all of these corruptions. Okay, Nyawagoa. Again, muchas gracias, merci beaucoup, and see you later. Now I'm signing off. Am I signing off now? Okay.
So everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Yes,